Welcome to our monthly update. It is July 2022, and this month we are in the studio because it is literally 112 degrees outside, so we thought, let's just bring it inside this month.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. We're seeing a ton go on in the market. Obviously a lot going on in the media. Tell us a little bit about what's been changing in the month of July versus last month.
So inventory continues to increase. That's probably everyone's heard that or seen that or just noticed it actually. We're 197% increase in inventory over the past 14 weeks, and that continues to increase month over month. We're seeing a lot more homes on the market, driven mostly again by, rates have gone up considerably, and I think, and seasonally also we see an increase in listing inventory a lot in the summer as well. But definitely, the rates have gone up, slowed our demand a bit, so we're seeing supply increase.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the double-edged sword there, where it is the seasonality of Arizona, as well as kind of the timing of the market with interest rates and buyer fatigue that we've kind of talked about previously. So I think it's kind of the double-edged sword there.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely seeing slowdown in accepted offers overall, right? And you're noticing that as well, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing buyers put their searches on hold more so than ever.
Right.
Again, due to that fatigue of being in the market for so long. However, there is more opportunity now, wouldn't you say, than 3 months ago?
100%. There's great opportunities for buyers in the market right now. Actually, just over last week, I put a deal together that was a buyer contingency. So the contingent upon the buyer selling their home, the seller agreed to the contract. We're seeing more and more of those. It's an opportunity for a buyer who a few months ago that wouldn't even entered into the conversation, right?
And we were kind of talking offline. We're like, a lot of agents are like, what is a contingency? Because we just simply haven't seen any in the last couple of years.
Right, contingencies, incentives, there's seller concessions. There are things that a lot of agents haven't ever utilized because really for the past 4 or 5 years, they haven't really had to, right? It's been more a seller's market than ever before. Now we're moving into this normal market, perhaps a buyer's market before long. We're not really sure where those numbers are going to lay out, but it looks like we're trending more towards that every week, right?
Yeah.
So definitely we put a deal together where the seller took a buyer contingency after I went and inspected the home, so my seller could be assured that the home was marketable, was sellable, and that the pricing was right. So we went, toured the home, brought that feedback back to my seller. They thought it was a great idea, and we went forward with that offer.
I would say more so than not right now, we are seeing seller concession, whether that be upfront on the contract or negotiated in the Binzer. So is that kind of what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, moving into this market over the course of the next few months, as inventory does continue to increase, that we're going to see more and more opportunities for buyers to ask for things on their contract.
Yeah.
Closing cost concessions, rate buy down, that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So like just touching on the rate buy down scenario, we're seeing a ton more opportunity, as you're saying, for the seller to pay for the interest rate reduction of a buyer. So a lot of buyers are on the fence because of the rate environment, but why not use the current market conditions to your advantage as a buyer and have the seller pay down or buy down your interest rate for you? So for example, instead of asking for a $10,000 reduction in the purchase price, you're asking for a $10,000 seller concession to buy down the interest rate. So you can see the effects of that much more astronomically in the monthly payment if you're buying the rate down versus just asking for a reduction in purchase price.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to have much more bang for your buck by getting that concession.
And at the end of the day, it's still the same net for the seller, so that's all they're caring about.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that positions a seller, who's willing to do that type of concession to a much greater. The competition is getting strong, right? So they're going to have to step up to some of these concessions to get their home sold.
Absolutely, and we're not really from the mortgage side. We have seen rates fall a bit. This is the beginning to middle of July. So we have seen rates fall a little bit. We're not anticipating them to fall substantially until inflation starts to come down. So the Fed is doing what they can right now. They're a little bit behind the curve on what they should have done, but they are anticipating to keep increasing these federal funds rates, things to kind of slow the spending down, which in turn would essentially put us into a recession.
Right, exactly. Which, if we're not there, we're heading that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think with and once we're in a recession, the way to get out of it is to reduce interest rates at that time, increase spending, kind of level that out a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you hear the term recession. We've talked about this on previous market updates, and everyone freaks out. This is just reducing the spending, and
Right.
credit card debt has been again at an all-time high. People are just spending, and a lot of that needs to stop. The way to do that is to increase the cost of borrowing.
Exactly. Which goes to that, what we're hearing a lot of, I'm seeing a lot out there online and stuff, in realtor forums where, marry the house, date the rate. So, fall in love with the home, buy the home. The current interest rates are higher than you're used to. They're still historically low overall and over time. And then look for opportunities in the future as rates go down to refinance that property. But it is a great time right now to jump in, because with this inventory increase, the home you're looking for is probably out there. Where a few months ago, that may not have been the case. You may have settled for a home just to get a house. Granted, a great interest rate, but that was a little bit flip-sided, right? You were buying for the rate, now buy for the house, and then look for opportunities to refinance in the future.
Exactly. And again, we don't have like a crystal ball to say that rates are going to come down. Just with the data and previous recessions and everything that kind of goes into the makeup of that, we can assume that there will be an opportunity in the future for a client to refinance into a lower rate. So with that, in the buyer having more of the upper hand than they've had in the last 2 years, I think it's a really, really good opportunity.
I do as well. Yeah, oftentimes these market shifts seem painful for everybody in the beginning of it, but as you look for opportunities within the shift to either get additional concessions as a buyer, maybe the seller having to do a few more things, but the seller also has great opportunities on the buy side if you're looking to sell then buy, right?
Yeah.
For instance, doing a contingent offer. Like a few months ago, a seller would not even have an option to do that. Now it's totally feasible to ask for a concession or a contingency.
Yeah, and that's huge, because on our end, from the lending side, there's so many less hoops you have to jump through if you're able to go contingent. You're not having to pull from a 401k, you're not having to ask for a gift, and you're not having to recast later on. There's just a lot less that kind of goes into it if you can get a contingent offer accepted.
Exactly. So just to recap a few things, inventory is definitely up month over month. Rates have fallen a bit, but are still higher than they were a few months ago, obviously. What else are we seeing in the market? As a lender, what are you seeing some of your contracts coming in, or are people taking advantage of some of these concessions?
They are, yeah. So again, as I was saying, probably the last 3 or 4 contracts that we've gotten in the last 7 to 10 days, we're seeing seller concessions up front. And we work with a lot of experienced agents, and as we were kind of talking about offline as well, if you're not an experienced agent in this market, you simply don't know how to write an offer, and you're not used to writing for seller concessions, or you don't necessarily know if you can write for seller concessions or a contingency, whereas someone like you, who's very experienced and knowledgeable as to what's going on in the day-to-day, has the understanding around that and can benefit both for you getting the offer accepted and your clients in the long run.
Exactly. Yeah, the idea of the contingent offer, it's something we haven't seen in a while, and bringing that back, it was just, working with the other agent, it was a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
So if you have any questions on anything that we kind of talked about, feel free to reach out to us, but we look forward to another market update in August.
Yep, great. Thank you very much.